Okay, let's walk and talk and respond to a tweet that one of you recently sent to me. Now, the Twitterer was Samuel Clemens, and he says, do you have an opinion about the legalization of harder drugs like coke and meth? And I do actually have an opinion about it. It might not be one of my most well thought out opinions because it's not something I've thought too much about. We're going to talk about it today. So my general approach to it is sort of similar to my approach to the legalization of marijuana. Unless you have a good reason in the beginning to criminalize something, I don't see why we should have to have an argument about legalizing it. I don't think that it should have been criminalized in the first place. And my opinion on the legalization of harder drugs like coke and meth is actually very similar to my opinion about the legalization of euthanasia. Unless you can come up with a reason why the government has the authority or responsibility or need to legalize something, why is it illegal in the first place? Now, we make things illegal because they cause harm to people. You know, it's not just that society would work better in a particular way. I think that that's perhaps a good reason to, have the values that you do. But so does coke, does meth cause harm to people other than the person who is consuming it? Because the government generally isn't supposed to criminalize something that you're just doing to yourself. I mean, after all, I could get a bottle of bleach and I could drink that. That's perfectly legal right now. I guess technically suicide isn't legal, but I could drink as much bleach as I want. And so if I were to do less harm to myself by doing coke or by doing meth, should that be illegal? So now some people might respond by saying, well, the actual drugs don't actually do harm to other people, but the drug trade does harm to other people. And that's true, but I would respond to that by saying that if the drug trade causes harm to anyone, it's because it's currently illegal. If it was actually legalized, it could be regulated. You'd be able to go into regular stores and buy it, and people wouldn't be getting gunned down by drug dealers as a result of it. And so that's not actually an argument, what they were saying, to keep it illegal. That's an argument to legalize it. I understand when people say, we can't have people consuming these things, why they're saying it. They're saying it because they want society to run well, and they think that people are better off when they're not consuming drugs of that sort. And I totally get that. I'm totally sympathetic to that point of view. But it's not our responsibility. It's not my responsibility as an individual, and I don't see how it's the responsibility of the government to so closely police what everyone does. I mean, after all, you can consume all of the sugar and carbs that you want. You can make yourself massively obese. That's certainly bad for people as well, perhaps in a more immediately harmful way than cocaine is, since many people die as a result of being overweight. You can die of coke as well. But that's not what the government does. The government doesn't regulate what you eat necessarily. Now, I think that there are some ways in which they can sort of require that more information is provided. For instance, in the case of sugar, I think that you should have a daily recommended allowance of sugar, and the government could certainly do some great stuff to publicize that. And look, if coke and meth were legalized, then sure, the government can require all sorts of safety advisory notices and things like that on it. I don't have a problem with that at all. But to make it illegal in the first place, where is the authority of the government to do that? No, man, I can put whatever I want in my body. I can wreck my life. I mean, you might say, well, that'll do damage to your brain. Well, yeah, lots of people go, every moment of their life after finishing high school or college without learning much of anything, without ever reading a book. The government doesn't criminalize that. I don't know. I know that this is one of my positions that's probably not going to be incredibly popular, and it certainly seems more libertarian in orientation, but I don't know, this is something that I'm sort of working through, this constellation of different issues that have to do with, should something be illegal simply because it's bad for the person that's doing it? And right now, I just don't see it. Look, the reason that I have a comment section is so that you guys can both let me know what you think about my opinion, but also help to educate me. And you can certainly do that in this regard. If you can think of a good reason why it should be made illegal, either because you believe that something should be made illegal if it's bad for the person who's doing it, or if you can make the case that it actually is harming society generally or other people specifically, I would certainly love to hear that. So leave that down below. Thanks for walking and talking with me.